And that's Vice President J.D. Vance with me here exclusively last weekend on President Trump's plans to use tariffs as a tool to advance his agenda and raise revenue to cut into the $36 trillion national debt. On Friday, President Trump hinted that he will be announcing more tariffs this upcoming week, specifically reciprocal tariffs and potentially on Europe. So what should we expect? Joining me now is the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller. Stephen, it's wonderful to have you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you, Maria, as always.
I want to start with tariffs, sir, because I know markets are focused on this very closely. And I was told by a source that President Trump is going to announce reciprocal tariffs against Europe, but it's going to be more than just reciprocal. He's also going to add on more to the tariff to cover the VAT tax, which Europe charges us, a VAT tax. So can you tell us what we are expecting next week?
Well, I don't want to get ahead of the president's announcement, but I do want to explain a very important point the president feels very strongly about. Other nations all around the world use the VAT to get an unfair trade advantage against the United States. Did you know when you ship a car from the United States to Europe, if they let it in at all, because of course they have many non-tariff barriers, that between the VAT and duties, that car is taxed at 30%. A German car or a European car sent to America is taxed at 2.5%, or basically zero. This is a major reason why the U.S. auto industry has been getting hammered and hemorrhaging jobs for so long. It is massively unfair treatment. And the president's making clear that we are going to pursue a policy of reciprocity. In other words, if we're getting charged 30% by Europe, then we need to charge them 30% in return. If they want to be charged less than 30%, they're going to have to lower their barriers so that it's fair and equal and, yes, reciprocal treatment. Here's another area where Europe is engaging in predatory practices. They are fining our tech companies billions and billions of dollars. These are revenues and jobs that should be here in the United States. Tech companies are subject to digital taxes, censorship, and onerous financial penalties that are tens of billions of dollars every single year. Obviously, that has to go into the reciprocal treatment as well. You cannot have a situation where our country, our auto companies, our tech companies are just a piggy bank for Europe. Enough is enough. The president is going to insist on fair treatment. He's going to insist on equal treatment, and he's going to defend American businesses and American enterprise.
Well, we have a deficit with the Eurozone, so it sounds like next week we're going to hear a correction by President Trump instituting a tariff plus on the Eurozone. That means a reciprocal tariff plus a VAT tax.
He's going to put forward a plan. Again, I don't want to get ahead of his announcement in terms of timetables and deadlines and everything else. He's going to put forward a plan, and he's going to work together with the Secretary of Commerce, the Secretary of the Treasury, the U.S. Trade Office, and they're going to implement that plan in due course. So, again, I don't want to get ahead of the president, but at a principle level, I want to be clear that what President Trump is saying is other countries around the world cannot charge us 20% or 30%, or in the case of some countries, 100%, and then we charge them nothing. It is bankrupting our industry. It is driving up our deficit. It is stealing our jobs. For 4 years under Joe Biden, this was done to us. We were robbed blind. The trade deficit soared ever higher. President Trump is coming in and he's saying we are not going to let our country and our companies be taken advantage of anymore. It's a new day and there is a new president.
Also bankrupting us is all of this wasteful spending, outrageous spending coming out of USAID. And I know that movement continues throughout government. What do you want to say about all of this spending and the efforts by some of these liberal judges to stop President Trump from allowing Elon Musk access to these issues?
So, as you're aware, a radical left judge said that the Secretary of the Treasury cannot access the Treasury computer system. This isn't just unconstitutional. That ruling is an assault on the very idea of democracy itself. What we continue to see here is the idea that rogue bureaucrats who are elected by no one, who answer to no one, who have lifetime tenure jobs, who we would be told can never be fired, which of course is not true, that the power has been cemented and accumulated for years, whether it be with the Treasury bureaucrats or the FBI bureaucrats or the CIA bureaucrats or the USAID bureaucrats, with this unelected shadow force that is running our government and running our country. Donald Trump is engaging in the most important restoration of democracy in over a century by saying that we are going to restore power to the people through their elected president and his appointed officers. That is the only way we can have true democracy in this country. You elect a president, he appoints a staff, the staff transparently carries out his orders on behalf of the whole nation. But this nonsense, where we have rogue, unelected, unaccountable, and previously unfireable bureaucrats who do whatever the hell they want, with no one telling them and no one controlling them, we're not going to let that happen anymore. We're going to have a democracy, and we're going to have an executive branch that serves the American people, that answers to the American people, and that answers the will of the American voter.
George Soros's prosecutors were reportedly getting money. Did anybody really understand where this money from USAID was going? Stephen, was this being just a slush fund for the Democrats' favorite causes like sex change operations in Guatemala?
Yes, the USAID was a slush fund, first of all, for left-wing projects around the globe, like gender surgeries around the world, diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, crazy Green New Deal climate scams, and every other lunatic left-wing project that is bankrupting this country. But even beyond that, it was funding an army of left-wing activists, these NGOs, non-governmental organizations, NGOs. They get billions and billions of dollars, and they use that money to then infiltrate corporate America, to then infiltrate the public sector, to then resettle, for example, at taxpayer expense, millions of illegal aliens into this country, to drive racist equity policies, to drive radical left gender policies. And so what we've learned is that the left's, this mammoth left-wing power structure, plus left-wing media, wasn't organic. It wasn't created naturally. It was funded by taxpayer dollars. And that is why they are screaming and screeching so loud now, is because President Trump is cutting off the slush fund to the organizations that hate and hurt America.
And he's also cutting out the people who are getting these intelligence briefings, who may not should not be able to get these intelligence briefings. The president revealing more people that he's revoking national security clearances and intelligence briefings, including Joe Biden, including the 51 spies who lied, including perhaps Anthony Blinken and Jake Sullivan. Of course, Jake Sullivan, one of the mouthpieces of the Russia collusion hoax so many years ago. Your reaction?
Yeah, this is part and parcel of the same issue. People leave government. They are now private citizens, but they continue to have access to sensitive secrets, and then they use that access in conjunction and partnership with the bureaucracy to weaponize intelligence against American people and against political enemies. And President Trump is saying, no, that stops. Drain the swamp isn't just a talking point. It is a mandate. For 4 years, this issue between 2020 and 2024 was endlessly litigated before the American people about weaponized justice, about weaponized intelligence, about weaponized bureaucracy. And the American people elected Donald Trump, and they said, shut it all down. Shut down the weaponization, shut down the abuse of our intelligence system, shut down this entire system that crushes our rights and freedoms at the expense of a privileged few. And that is what he is doing. He is following through on the mandate that the American people gave him to say that our intelligence system and our law enforcement system are not going to be partisan weapons and partisan tools anymore. They're going to be used to keep America safe, to keep terrorists and illegal aliens from hurting our citizens, and they're going to be used to protect the American Republic, and that's what's happening, Maria.
Stephen, it's great to talk with you. Thanks for your leadership. Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. Thank you, sir.